pantheon of cool events we've had in the Big Ten through the years, one tonight is right up there. This is the scene over at the Big Ten Fan Fest at the Convention Center here in Indy, where later this evening, Illinois and Indiana will open the Big Ten wrestling dual meet schedule by squaring off against one another in the first ever Big Ten Takedown. It starts at 5 Eastern time. It is right here on the Big Ten Network. And Jim Gibbons and Tim Johnson and Shane Sparks are going to call that match here on the Big Ten Network. They join us now. So let's dive into this. And, Jim, I'll give you the first word on it. Give us a sense for how this came to be, like how this went from concept to the fact that you guys are here and calling it. Because to me, this is as cool an idea as we've had.
Well, I tip my cap to the conference office, and just basically putting this event together here along with the Fan Fest. And, in 2020, Dave, we were going to have the NCAA wrestling tournament in Minneapolis at a football stadium, right? And I take a look at this venue here right now, and, this could be a potential site here for the NCAA championships going forward. But, you got two progressive coaches, Angel Escobedo, and Coach Poeta here at Illinois, and I think they got together and said, hey, it's a great place to showcase our programs, get on the network here, and we're glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, we are thrilled to have it on the Big Ten Network. Tim, break this down for us a little bit. I know Illinois comes in as the higher-ranked team. Give us a sense for this matchup here and what you guys are looking forward to.
Well, the best way to explain it, Dave, is Illinois might be the Indiana of the football conference this year. They've pointed toward this. It's surprising. They redshirted 4 wrestlers last year just for this year. Then they've had a couple of freshmen that have really come through. And all of a sudden, they're just a surprise team. And if they keep going, they're going to make some noise and people are going to hear them. And Coach Escobedo at Indiana has kept them solid. They're undefeated. So it can't go better than this. 2 undefeated teams today.
Shane, I hesitate to phrase this quite like this with you because the answer is usually everything. But what excites you the most about this matchup here tonight? What give people who maybe are tuning in for the first time or people who are in town and have a ticket for the football game and say, hey, I'm going to pop over to the Fan Fest. And if you have a ticket to the football game, you get in the Fan Fest and you can watch wrestling tonight.
Absolutely. And both these guys commented on it before. It's great to see wrestling mats on a basketball floor. Now we get a wrestling mat on a football field. And I think for these two teams, these are up-and-coming teams in the Big Ten. As Tim alluded to, what Illinois has done with Mike Poeta, 5-0 start. They haven't had this kind of a start in almost a decade. And for Indiana, a growing program, 4-0 on the season. These are two teams that are trying to crack that top half of the Big Ten. As you know, 6 of the top 9 teams are from the Big Ten. Big Ten has won 17 straight NCAA championships. Of course, Penn State, 11 of 13. This conference is loaded. I would argue this. I think this is the best the Big Ten's top half has ever been. Penn State, wow. Iowa, Minnesota, Nebraska, the top 4, with Ohio State and Michigan ranked in the top 9. It is stacked.
Okay, so with that kind of as our backdrop, I want to get thoughts from all of you. I mean, I think it's gotten to the point where a lot of us who follow this casually go into every season and just say, well, it's Penn State and everyone else. I mean, you said they've won 11 of the last 13. The scoring margin last year in the national championship was mind-boggling. I mean, they don't just win it, they're obliterating people. So, but yeah, you're talking about 6 of the top 8 teams in the country coming from the Big Ten. So give us a sense here, Jim. Like, give us the scope of the Big Ten as we enter the first dual meet of the year. Who else, aside from Penn State, and just how good is Penn State?
Well, Penn State's really good. They've got an opportunity maybe to get 6+ in the NCAA finals. They've got an opportunity to go ahead and probably at least half those guys be favored for an NCAA title. That being said, Iowa's put together a really good lineup. They were active in the transfer portal here, and they're always competitive. We're going to see that match later on. Everybody points to that match, the Penn State-Iowa meet. I think it's at State College here this year. That's going to be a great venue, a great way to – so we're going to see – Ohio State's got a great team coming back. Shane mentioned, also Nebraska. They've got good dual meet teams here. But it really is at this point in time, Penn State, and they're turning into a recruiting juggernaut as well. I mean, they're getting the guys that they want to get in their program. And Cale Sanderson and his staff here have done a wonderful job. And it's going to be the record is 9 in a row set by Dan Gable, many moons ago. And, I know it's at 3 in a row right now, but that could be in jeopardy.
Tim?
Well, I'm thinking about the Big Ten Network has all these great duels on this year. And so I agree with Jim. The Iowa-Penn State meet, you look at it, it's going to be just like an Iowa-Penn State meet. But let's not forget Gable, Steveson, and Minnesota.
I was going to ask you about – okay, so can we back up for a second?
Yeah.
Okay, because when I saw this, I think my initial reaction was like, is it April Fool's Day? Like, is this real? So Gable Steveson, who is a couple of years removed from being in college, who's been an Olympic gold medalist, who's been in the WWE, who got a tryout in the NFL, right?
Buffalo Bills, yeah.
And now he's back in college. So before we talk about how good he is, help people understand this story.
Well, have you helped people understand what's going on in football with the, the COVID, the whole bit? It's the same thing. How does he have another year? I don't care because it's so exciting for wrestling. We've never seen a heavyweight in our sport, in the history of the sport, like Gable Steveson. So, hooray for wrestling. It's going to be great.
And Gable Steveson, you talk about domination. This guy is 89-2 in his career. He's won 55 straight matches. He's 50-0 in dual meets. He's a bonus point machine. Already this season in 3 matches, he has scored 57 points. Try to wrap your head around this, Dave. Gable Steveson has lost to one man, Anthony Cassara, Penn State, in the Big Ten Finals. And then at the national tournament back in 2019. He hasn't lost since March of 2019. Sometimes, Dave, I'll make a comment, and of course, I got these two knowledgeable guys next to me, and Jim goes way back in the history of wrestling, and sometimes I hesitate to make comments because I don't want Jim to big brother me and tell me, like, Shane, you're crazy. There was one time Jim and I it was after a dual meet, we're kicking back. I said, Jim, I'm going to say something. I'm going to hesitate a little bit. I said, I think Gable Stevenson's the greatest heavyweight of all time. And Jim paused and looked at me and said, I agree. It was a proud moment for me.
You still believe that?
Yeah, I do believe that. But the neat thing about Gable Steveson is he could have gone to a number of different programs out there. There's a lot of, people that might be attracted to his talents, and there's money out there in NIL and wrestling as well. He went back to Minnesota, and that's kind of what went back to his roots. I think he's been through a lot here with the WWE, with the NFL tryout, and I was glad that we decided to come back, that he came back to the Gophers.
I'll give you the last word here, Tim.
Well, in regards to Gable Steveson, back to you, Jim. Brandon Eggum building a great program in Minnesota. It's great to see a coach get to keep his star at this time in college athletics and to have that kind of loyalty right there. And so that's a lot to do. We're a close fraternity in wrestling, Dave. And so to see that kind of loyalty is really fun.
Yeah, I don't know if it's keeping his star or getting his star back, but it's great. So, so many fabulous storylines in Big Ten wrestling as there are every year. Thanks for giving us a little bit of clarity, and enjoy the event tonight, which just promises to be really exciting. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks for including us, Dave. Yeah.
Again, Illinois and Indiana, it is 5 Eastern time here on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. And again, if you're in Indy and you have a ticket to the football game, you have free admission to the Fan Fest. You can also buy tickets at the convention center, so check it out here later today.